to Heroes Forge, a Heroes of the Storm podcast.
What's going on, Forgers? Welcome back to episode 50 of Heroes Forge, a community-driven podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. This, of course, is your show host, Jeff Reynolds, and as always, I'm here with the co-host of the show, who is more awesome than 50 episodes of Heroes Forge. It's Kristen Ashton. Kristen, can you believe it? We have hit 50.
I can. But I can't believe how quickly it's come. It doesn't seem like it's been almost an entire year since we first started. So my mind is blown. And I'm just stoked that we've hit 50. And now 100 doesn't seem that far off. 200 even seems within our grasp.
Absolutely. And it's come crazy fast. And I can't believe we've built, really a total of more than 100 kits on the show over almost a year, and we want to celebrate that year special when we get to 52. More on that in a few minutes, but before we move even a step closer to forging tonight, we have a huge special announcement. So because this is episode 50 and we say that we are a community-driven podcast about this wonderful game, Heroes of the Storm, and we have our featured Forger episodes where we take a kit that was sent in from the community, we wanted to take it a step further for a special 50th episode, and we hope that we can do this every year. We want to bring someone that's a fan of the show, a listener of the show on, and we did just that tonight. Everyone out there, please welcome Trappy Jenkins coming on the show, forging characters with us. What is up, Trappy?
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I didn't find the show that long ago, but you guys had already put up a bunch of builds. It doesn't surprise me. You both have so much creative juices that you're able to put out such prodigious content. I've been a big fan of the show, as you know. If you guys watch this a lot, you probably see me in the comments asking questions. But now, instead of waiting 30 seconds to try to make you laugh, I get to try to make you laugh and break your character in person. I'm really looking forward to it.
It's always a challenge. It's always a challenge well accepted. Trappy, before we move on, we've got a story about how this whole thing happened that I want to get to. But I want our listeners and I want to know a little bit more about your history with gaming. Where did it all start for you?
It really all started with StarCraft. StarCraft was the first Blizzard game that I kind of got into, and I really just loved the characters and the lore and the depth of it. I never really got good at the strategy or the fast twitch, but everything about the universe was so immersive. And once Diablo 3 came out, I sort of just hopped on the Blizzard train and just played every Blizzard game out of that. And right now I play Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm, Worlds of Warcraft, Overwatch, regularly, almost daily, and I've been playing StarCraft regularly just because I wanted to play Legacy of the Void again because it's such a great story, and it closes a lot of threads that are opened up to it. So I'm an all-around Blizzard gamer. I just enjoy all the games, and yeah, man, that's why I wanted to be on here tonight.
Oh, heck yeah, man, that sounds awesome. So Kristen, it sounds like Trappy's on the same page as us.
Oh, love all of the Blizzard ideas and the characters and everything. And I have to agree with the StarCraft, right? Because I didn't get in until Legacy of the Void, to be honest. I played the very last game of StarCraft, but it was amazing. We have Alarak, you had Kerrigan, Raynor.
I love Alarak, yeah.
Oh, he made Legacy of the Void, I think, in part.
Yeah,
it's all climax though. That whole game is just one big ending for so much stuff. It must have been so hard to just jump in there.
Not too bad because they did a good job introducing you, and then I didn't have the difficulty on hard. I had it on the easiest possible level, and even that was challenging toward the end.
I believe it. When I first started playing StarCraft, like we've talked about before, I got my butt kicked in a whole bunch of levels. So Trappy, would you say that your favorite Blizzard game is StarCraft?
Ooh. See, I'm not the type of person that picks a favorite. The game that I play the most is probably World of Warcraft right now because they find the best way to trickle out the content. But I feel like all the games kind of have a different appeal, and I sort of apply them based on how I'm feeling. If I want to go shoot something, then I'll play Overwatch. If I want to just pew pew pew, then that's basically all the games.
Yeah, man. No, I totally. That's so awesome. And the way that this whole forging came about, Kristen, it was pretty unique.
It was around a pool table. Some of us were a little drunk at the time, some of us not. But we were celebrating free BlizzCon, and Trappy, you built and even brought a kit to give to us.
Well, I told you guys before that I really enjoy playing support characters in Heroes of the Storm, but I wanted to make a support character that wasn't just a heal bot where you do the same things over and over again. So I'd been kind of ruminating on the build for a while, and then meeting you guys in person, it was just a perfect opportunity to kind of share it with you in a way that would really like resonate and you kind of remember it.
Yeah, and talk about creative juices. I mean, we were all standing there around a pool table, and I walked up, and you guys had already started playing pool, and that's when I met you, Trappy. And as soon as I met you, you thought, oh, and now that you're here, we can talk about this. And it was so cool to just pull out your notepad, basically, and just start from there, and just have these ideas flowing. And then I turned to Kristen, and we all said together, we need to have Trappy on the show to celebrate 50 episodes. We need to get this on here, so I can't wait to get into more of it in just a minute or so. And your history with Blizzard is just spot on. Blizzard
it was
fanboy.
great. While we were doing it, like people actually came up and started like watching us, like in front of a live studio audience. We did a in-person HeroesForge. It was really fun.
Yeah, it was a total blast. So we're going to get into it in just a minute or so. But before we do, we got a little bit of housekeeping to chat about here with the holidays quickly approaching and hoping that everyone has a great opportunity to celebrate all of the holidays. We have a few schedule changes for when the show is going to come out. So next week, there won't be a regularly scheduled recording on Sunday. It will actually take place on the 23rd of December at 7 p.m. Pacific. Same place, twitch.tv/Amove TV. And that's going to be our holiday special. So that's a show that you don't want to miss on the 23rd of December. And then, of course, the following week, Christmas Day actually lands on a day we would record the show. So we're going to postpone it one day and record it on the 26th at 7 p.m. Pacific. And then, of course, New Year's Day falls on a day we would record the show as well. So we're going to push that one back to the 2nd. So the next 3 episodes of HeroesForge will air on the 23rd, the 26th, and the 2nd of January, all at 7 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/Amove TV. And then, of course, the respective day following will be the day that it's posted on the audio feed, and you won't want to miss these episodes because they're going to be awesome. Let's talk about some news, guys, because some seriously cool stuff is going on in the Nexus right now. Trappy, have you had a chance to play the Garden Terror Brawl?
Oh, I have not. Would you tell me about it?
Oh, it's very cool. It's a smaller map, right, Kristen? And it's basically the same objective, but if you gain 100 seeds, you win the game, right, Kristen?
You do. So it's like you were saying, Jeff, tiny map, one lane, right? Now, the only thing I've been noticing with these brawls is that, for better or for worse, people don't want to change to meet the objective of the brawls. They'd rather have team fights, not where the objective is. It's hilarious. So you're learning a lot about team fighting. You're being forced to try heroes you wouldn't normally play. That's wonderful. But I wish people would just do it on the objective, so then you could win.
Absolutely. Trappy, have you played brawls in the past in Heroes?
I've tried a few of them. I think I tried them when they first came to BlizzCon, but like the ARAM maps, they don't really appeal to me because they just evolve into giant team fights, like you were saying. And I find that something that's really common across all Blizzard games is when you use the find a team tool. Sometimes you don't get you get paired with the best teammates.
Yeah.
And so if they do avoid the. Yeah, that same thing happens in Overwatch all the time. My teammates are deathly afraid of the point when the timer's about to run out. I don't know why.
And the fact that you're given a random hero has actually pushed me in certain directions to try characters that I haven't yet tried before and get in there and kind of light the fire underneath me to want to learn these new characters and get out there and try them in actual Hero League or Quick Match or Unranked. So it's been great. And speaking of new characters, Trappy, are you excited for Ragnaros?
I really, really want them to just release him a week early. That way, when he comes out, it's too soon, Executus. And then he comes out. That would be great. That's such a flavorful reveal right there. If he just busts through, it'd have to start as the variant intro screen, and then he just busts through it, and it's Ragnaros all of a sudden. That'd be great.
Oh yeah, and then Kristen, what if they announced Executus with that reveal of Ragnaros early?
It would be off the chain, but I think they need to wait, though, because this Ragnaros hype train is one of the biggest hype trains I think we've seen with a hero in a long time. People get excited for new heroes, sure, but the Fire Lord, there's a passion for this hero unlike any I've seen in a long time.
Yeah,
it's a really creative build. I know a lot of people have been trying to do like the core or the tower hero, and I feel like they've found a way to do it without it being oppressing or without you just like waiting in one spot the whole game. So you can make an impact on the level, but also be like big and powerful in a tower, and I think that's cool.
Yeah, I think they've done a really good job, and Kristen and I both had an opportunity to play a little bit of Ragnaros at BlizzCon, and it's very fun. So to see where they go from there is great. But you couldn't bring the Fire Lord into the Nexus without also bringing in the Feast of Winter Veil into the Nexus. You know, fire and ice. We got to balance it out here. So there's some really cool stuff coming to the Nexus from January 14th, or from December 14th, rather, to January 4th. There's going to be a snowflake portrait. There's going to be a treasure goblin mount, 25% bonus XP, and of course some holiday skins and mounts are going to be added to the store as well. So, Kristen, which one of those things are you looking forward to most? Are you looking forward to that gingerbread gazebo?
I would say yes, but I would say my Christmas present has already arrived because I want you all listeners to go look at that painting that they've done, right? The painting, it's got gingerbread Zubo, Lunara, and Rhaegar. And look at that Rhaegar and tell me he's not posed as an anime girl holding his hair back as the wind blows it.
That is your Christmas present.
It was amazing. I didn't even realize they had done it until I was looking at the notes getting ready for the show. And I thought, wow, is that supposed to be a female orc that we're getting? Oh, no. It's Rhaegar.
Well, you know, what I thought you were going to say is I thought you were going to say that Varian was your Christmas present come early because of your the romance novel Varian that we talked about before, but this is just icing on the cake, right?
It really is. Varian was the Thanksgiving present, and this anime girl Rhaegar is really the Christmas, the snow for Christmas.
Oh, so many gifts. So many gifts. All right, everybody. Well, that's the news, and we need to get into it. So I'm going to go ahead and say, let's forge.
Let's forge.
All right, this wouldn't be a featured Forger opportunity here if we didn't have 3 full kits to talk about tonight. So we have lots to power through as we get through here. And you know, because you're our guest, Trappy, I want you to tell everyone out there listening, who are we forging this evening on the show?
Yikes, 3 builds. When you say it like that, it makes it sound like a lot. Today, we are forging the hero, the leader, the prophet of the Draenei. That's right, Prophet Velen, the one and only.
The one and only. Are you a Draenei player?
I tried to get into a Draenei, but when I played Draenei, I played a mage, and something didn't click for me. I'm a warlock through and through. I like having minions to do my dirty work for me. You guys go take care of that. I'll get treasure boxes and stuff like that.
It's so funny how you could have, I mean, Kristen, there are hundreds of different WoW personality types out there of the way that people want to play, right?
Definitely.
There are. Yeah, and it's amazing that you won't get into WoW until you find that character. The first hero I ever rolled was a Tauren druid, and I was bored. I was so bored. I was ready to quit. But then I sat down and I rolled my own character after looking around, and it was an undead rogue. I loved it. Absolutely loved it, and I never looked back.
Yeah, you got to find your niche in there. You got to find what you like to play. But Prophet Velen, like we talked about before, is an outstanding character with a ton of different lore and a ton of backstory on what's going on, and such a prominent character even up until the most recent expansion, Legion. So, Kristen, why don't you give us a little intro on Velen and his place in Warcraft?
Can do. The Burning Legion, Ner'zhul Gul'dan, it can all be traced back to Prophet Velen. Leader of the Eridar alongside his close friends Kil'jaeden and Archimonde, the 3 ruled their homeworld in peace until they were found by Sargeras. offered a chance to help bring peace throughout existence, it was only Velen that was able to see through Sargeras' honey-coated lies. Unfortunately for him and his people, Kil'jaeden and Archimonde refused to believe Velen, giving over to Sargeras' promise. By the time they realized Velen was right, it was too late. Aided by the Naaru, Velen was able to escape with some of his people, now known as the Exiled Ones, or Janai. Throughout the universe they fled, and every planet they settled on, the Burning Legion found them and then destroyed it. In time, they came to know peace for a long while on Draenor, and even worked well with the native orcs. It was not to last, though, as Sargeras' troops found the exiled Janai and began plotting. First, Sargeras worked through Ner'zhul, the future Lich King, and then through Gul'dan. Velen and his followers did manage to escape, but their spaceship became lost in time and space until a surprise crash landing on the world of Azeroth. Now, more recently, he hired heroes to help him retrieve Oros, the key to unlocking the mysteries behind Light's heart, a sentient Naaru core. During this quest, however, Rakish, an Eridar, kills Oros and threatens to explode the entire structure it was in, forcing the hero to attack Rakish. In the final seconds before Rakish dies, Velen attempts to stop the adventurer, for his vision is starting to come to pass. Rakish, in fact, was no stranger. It was Velen's son, kidnapped long ago by the Burning Legion, now lying dead in the priest's arms. A revenge 10,000 years in the making. With this, Velen now plans to leave Azeroth with his fellow Janai, as the light died there that day.
Oh man, what a great piece you wrote there. That's so good. So much to talk about in there. So much to talk about Velen altogether. I mean, one of the most interesting things I found, Trappy, is the fact, I mean, these worlds are really literally tied together. The fact that this spaceship is you know, takes off and tries to escape, and it escapes out, but it becomes lost, and it just happens to land on Azeroth, right?
Their fates seem inexorably tied with the Burning Legion. His mistake being allowing his right-hand men to sort of go into power. Although, if he's a priest, why didn't he just res his son? Is it too soon? Sorry.
Oh, I didn't think of that.
Question.
Yeah, maybe there's some sort of...
He didn't accept the res, that's why. He tried, but...
He's running back still. He's still running back. No, that's a good point. Maybe there's some sort... I'm sure there's some sort of backstory about how the demonic powers, or maybe even the vision, prevented him from being able to do something like that. But Trappy, you brought up a good point. He is a priest in the game, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So he has, I mean, if you go in and you decide to raid, if you were playing, you know, Horde, and you went in there and you decided to raid and try to get to Velen and try to, you know, eliminate him, he would fight you as if he was a priest, right, Kristen?
I believe he would. There are lots of holy smites, but as far as I know, there's no resurrect option that he has. It's just basic attack stuff to fend off the encroaching horde.
Well, I mean, they can't make him too powerful, but he's a wielder of the light, and everybody who wields the light has some ability to res people, at least out of battle.
Yeah, that's a really, really great point. And so on that specific point, I want to start into these builds. So if this is your first time listening to HeroesForge, welcome to the show. We are so happy that you're here. The way this works is that normally there's two of us and we build two kits and we just talk back and forth about what's going on, but we are so lucky to have Trappy here, one of our listeners tonight, to chat through a third kit. And because he is our guest, he gets to go first. And the first thing we talk about when we talk about bringing Prophet Velen into Heroes of the Storm, currently not a character in the game, is what would their role classification be? And Trappy, you actually gave us a challenge with this one.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, I like playing support in the game, but heroes especially, it seems like a lot of the supports are kind of locked in just heal botting, basically healing for as much as they can, as often as they can. And so my challenge for you guys was I wanted a support with a twist. And so all the characters tonight are going to be supports, but they're all going to have their own different kind of flavor to make sure they're not just a rote healer and they have some other kind of aspect to them.
Yeah, which was a challenge, right, Kristen? I mean, the first thing you start thinking when you think of support is, how can I keep everyone alive in a traditional way but be different and come up with new abilities? And I mean, it can get crazy.
It totally can. And the hard part, too, is making Velen not a priest from World of Warcraft, because that would have been simple. Look up a priest. What do they normally use? Give it to Velen. Boom, you're done. But that didn't happen here tonight because we were tasked with not doing that. And I think that forces us to be more creative and think outside of the box and create ultimately a hero that would be, like Trappy was going for, much more engaging in play.
Yeah, it'll be an adventure for sure. Let's get that adventure started. So all three of us are building supports here. So we'll get into the trait. Let's talk about your trait, Trappy, and where is the groundwork that you're going for this support Velen?
So everything for this build is kind of built on top of his trait, which is when need is most dire. I'm looking here over my notes, so if you see me looking, I'm looking at my notes. The power of Velen's abilities are directly related to the health of his target. So that means how effective they are and how long they last depend on the health of the target. So basically, Velen has led his people for countless millennia, which means he's a really old dude. So it takes a lot for him to kind of get up off his throne and kind of go and help everybody else. The Exodar was basically coming to pieces when he finally decided to go and help everybody. So I like the idea of making him kind of like a clutch player, basically someone who in the last seconds of a big team fight can just make a huge difference and kind of push a team that's behind over the edge and sort of help them overtake a team that's really ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is such a cool idea. So basically what you're saying here, does this affect both, and we'll see as we get into the build, does it affect both damage dealing abilities and abilities that do healing or supporting, or is it just basically focused on healing?
Well, his heal's kind of weird, but yes, essentially all of his abilities are tied to it.
Okay.
I'll kind of explain how as the build goes on, but
sweet.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I mean, Kristen, that sounds like a really cool way. I mean, if you were, let's say you were going in and you were healing, and it's kind of like a good way to learn how to heal because you're going to get a little boost, right? Once you go into someone that needs a bigger heal.
Certainly, and it'll make you care more about your teammates because the better they do, the better you're going to do.
Absolutely. I mean,
and it makes you think more tactically with your heal. You can't just like, boom, 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 use it every time you're on cooldown. You're like, all right, do I wait or do I give it a little bit longer? And also synergize with characters like Artanis who thrive with low health. So if you can buff him right before he gets the shield, then he gets like an extra kind of buff added to him.
Trappy, you're a true forger, man. You're like saying synergies, you're going through all this stuff.
I want to bring out the best in other characters, and Artanis is kind of meh at this point, so...
Yeah, no, I've seen some pretty legit Artanises recently, but I agree. I mean, there's been a time for Artanis, and the time has come and gone in some places. Let's move on to the next part here. Let's talk about his mount. How do you think Prophet Velen would move around the battlefield mounted? What specialty mount would he ride?
So because Velen is so dependent on a second person, I want him to have a special mount. And being a Draenei, he'd have an Elec, of course, so like a King's Elec, that's all fancy, like armored up and nice looking. But I want it to be the first two-person mount. So you're running away from the enemy. Velen comes in on the Elec, boom, swoops, picks you up, you jump on, and you both get out of there before anybody else can mount up and catch you.
Nice. So
I think that would make for some really exciting moments, like a getaway car, right? He just pops out of nowhere, and you're like, "Get on!" Pew! And there's no like delay or anything onto it. You click and you jump on because he's already done the mount summoning for you.
Oh, that is a great idea. So there's no wait time, so you're just jumping on, and you're saying it's like bedazzled. I mean, for people that don't know what an Elec looks like, it's like a giant elephant, right, Kristen? I mean, that's the best way to describe it. With this elephant, it's a large-sized mount.
I don't know how else it is. It's an elephant. They called it an Elec, maybe because the term elephant is copyright somewhere, but it's an elephant. It's got a big forehead, and it's really cute.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Trappy. I love that. That's almost a trait in itself to be able to have a mount that has, an additional spot for someone to ride along in. And are you thinking that the passenger would have any sort of, are they acting like they're mounted, or are they able to fire off abilities while they're riding?
I think that would be cool, but that would be too broken. Because then you would have movable casting, and like I feel like that would kind of take it too far. I mean, in Dream World, yeah, but I don't know, man. It seems too much. A lot of this character is for making memorable moments. And I don't want it to be broken, like overpowered, but when you play this character, you're going to have stories to tell your friends. And that kind of leads me into his Q, which is Disorient. Now, I don't know if you've played the newest Hearthstone expansion, but there's a legendary called Mayor Noggenfogger. And what he does is all targeted actions are random. And so Disorient is something similar. Enemies hit by Disorient will have their inputs scrambled. So move direction doesn't coordinate to inputs. You run left, you might run right, you might run up, you might run down. You don't know. And any ability can trigger any other ability. So you might use your movement ability to try to get away and end up spending your alt.
Oh. Wow, that is cool.
How long are you making this Disorient last?
It depends on how high your health level is. If you're at higher health, it's not as effective, but if you're at low health, you're going to be there for a few seconds. And that's really what Velen is, like a cleanup character. But could you imagine, like, you're trying to get away, and you hit just right, and you hit him with an ult, like, super perfect, and you end up killing him?
Oh, that'd be pretty powerful.
That'd be so nuts.
And I think you're right when you said that it would lead for some really cool esports moments. I mean, right now, Velen can do this, like, drive-by, pick people up, and then it's like that Yogg Saron moment, right? Where you drop Yogg and you're not really sure what's going to go on in Hearthstone. I mean, it's the same kind of feel, right?
Exactly. Very just like, oh, I hope this works out. But you don't know what working out is going to be. That's what I like about it.
That is too cool. Okay, well, let's get to the next basic. What were you thinking there?
All right, so this is Velen's Chosen. Similar to Hearthstone, it buffs an ally's attack and movement speed, so it's great for chasing people down. But it also buffs their health total. So this was a weird way of healing, but basically what I'm thinking is, say somebody has 100 health. You buff their health by, let's say, 50%. It doesn't matter. That's what's going to be buffed or balanced. So you buff their health by 50%. Their overall health changes from 100 to 150, and you heal them for 75. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Neat.
So if you're in combination with another healer, you heal them a little bit, but then that other healer can heal them to full health, and then that character will have 150% health for a duration of time, depending on how low you get.
Oh, okay. So you're basically... do you play Lieutenant Morales ever?
Lieutenant Morales is my favorite character and the only character I have above level 10.
Really? Yeah, I'm a huge Lieutenant Morales fan as well. So there is a talent that you can take with Lieutenant Morales where the heal beam grants a shield at full health, right? So you're basically healing them above 100% health. So this is a similar idea, but man, if you double supported into this, like you said, you could really gain some huge advantage over that if you were on point with both healers. I mean, imagine if you had, Kristen, a Lieutenant Morales and a Velen in the same game. I mean, that'd be pretty awesome.
Dive characters all the way. No, it would be amazing. But that does beg the question, would Velen be able to stand alone as a healer, or would he be strongest with a supplementary healer?
I think he works best with the supplementary healer, but you don't necessarily need it because he does have a heals amount. And there are other outside ways of heals. Some characters have self-heals, like Muradin and Morales. There's also the health pools that you can go to, or if you hit up the, if you hit up the core really fast, you get a full health boost right away there if you're defending the core right away. So you're near the core, your health gets really low, you get hit with this buff, suddenly you have 150% health, go back, charge up, come back full, boom, suddenly big swing turn.
So would that...
But on top of that, also the movement speed and attack, too. So they can do more damage and they move faster as well. So it's great for chasing people down, like she said.
Yeah, I think that's where the prime gain is being able to get that movement speed and attack buff in there as well. Do you think the buff would last long enough to where if you got the buff and hit the fountain, it would be able to fill you up fast enough to gain a
right by the fountain? And if you were low on health, I would say you'd have to be like really close, like defending it. And that's what I'm thinking in these kind of scenarios is defending the fountain, or you're on an aggressive push like Illidan. Illidan's attacks heal him, So if his overall health pool is bigger, he can heal for a greater amount when he attacks.
Yeah, it's a very cool idea. It's very powerful and very cool if you have 2 supports in there. What were you thinking for your third basic?
All right, for the third one, this is the only damaging talent, and it's Holy Nova. Velen releases a wave of energy in front of him that does bonus damage against light armored units. So in addition to low health, it's also light armored units. And I don't know if there's anything else. Sorry, my phone's buzzing. I don't know if there's anything else in the area that any other characters that have damage based on armor, but I think that'd be a really cool idea to introduce, because that would be a good way to kind of counter squishies if you have a character that does bonus damage against light armor, and at the same time it gives him kind of a balance in higher resistant characters. So like somebody like Cho'Gall, he wouldn't be able to do as much damage to as somebody like Tracer who was light.
Wow, really cool. So counter picks here, Kristen, trying to find those counter picks as you're drafting through a game.
Totally. And it sounds like an opposite of Giant Killer, right? Because we have assassins that can whittle down tanks, and that's really their purpose. Tychus, for instance, that's pretty much his job, is to take down a two tank team. But I don't think we've seen much in the way of really focusing down squishy assassins that otherwise don't have armor. Vala, Jaina, Kael'thas. I mean, they're squishy enough in their own right, but just imagine if you could take them down.
Well, and all those are really powerful characters that are kind of without a counter right now just because they're able to distance so well. So that's why I wanted a character that kind of focuses on them, because like you said, there are so many characters that can take out bigger health characters, but it's harder to get a handle on squishies.
Yeah, and just to think, like, I mean, when you get a handle on those squishy characters right now, you can do some serious damage. I mean, let's think about those KTs or those, Leemings. As soon as they get put into a Leoric tomb, death to all traitors is an understatement. So, I mean, the fact that
tomb is an ultimate, like, something's like a straight damaging attack. So it's something that's able to be more consistent. So you'll have to kind of like play around that, like you said, definitely about the counter pick.
Yeah, very, very neat. Okay, those are some killer basics. Let's get into heroics. What's your first heroic over there, Trappy?
So the first one is definitely one that I made for myself, because when I play heroes, I like to just go all out and just like shoot massive rays of light and like do huge amounts of damage and stuff like that. And I realized that was out of character in the normal talents. That's why I went for it for the super. For my first ultimate is the Avatar of Light. Seeing that all hope is lost, Velen fuses with the last of the Naru. Zera, I think that's how you say it. Together they become the Avatar of Light, gracefully increasing the power of the character. Velen's moves also temporarily change to become more aggressive in nature. The Q is just a basic attack strike, but all of these attacks have an increased crit chance. So if you do a crit, they do higher crit damage. So there's Staff Strike, which is just kind of like a basic attack. Holy Blast is a wave attack that also has like a knockback effect. And then there's Holy Smite, which is just like a high damage single target spell that you can like hit at from a range. And so this makes them like really powerful and deadly in a different kind of way.
Yeah, and I love the visual of that, Kristen. It just looks, I mean, let's be real. Some of the cool stuff. I mean, if you talk about, I got the chills, and I hadn't played StarCraft in forever, but I got the chills when they did the Legacy of the Void, when they, the Protoss started merging together in that video.
That trailer was so good.
It was incredible.
The first trailer, they just look at each other, and you're like, damn, no other choice. Gotta do it.
That's right. I mean, that is so cool, and I feel like that would be the same kind of thing here. I mean, Kristen, we're all about the visuals. That just sounds so cool.
Yes, well, think about it. How many cartoons, anime, movies have it where there's a character who gets super powerful all of a sudden, and light shines from their eyes and their mouth and maybe even their fingertips? I mean, we love that as a culture, I think. Just the sheer expression of you becoming so powerful, it cannot be contained within your mortal body.
Exactly. And you can see him like fusing with the light spirit and kind of like boom, and it comes out and he's just like smoke coming off him and he looks all kinds of badass. It really has a lot of flavor to it. That's what I really enjoy about that part of the build.
So Trappy, is this the ultimate that you pick if you are looking to do a little more damage for your team?
especially later on if you're looking for bigger pushes, and that's definitely the one you pick if you have a secondary healer. Like if you've got a Malfurion or a Lily who can kind of heal everybody, then you don't need to worry about taking care of everybody. You can just do your thing and be big and massive and be another attack damage carry while they bust their healing out.
Yeah, killer. So cool. I can't wait to hear your second heroic. What is it?
Oh, this one I really enjoy. I think this one kind of has the potential to be a bigger game changer than the other one. The other one was just like a power fantasy. This one really like can change the way a team fight goes. If you were like me when you played Legion and you saw Velen on the Exidar, you were just like, what? Why do you have this giant power that you never use to help people? You just sit around all the time. And when he used that giant shield bubble to like keep out the Legion, and then later when he like takes you to the core and he's like flying on that bubble and you got to follow it down all the way around, I thought that was so cool. So I definitely wanted to work that into my build. But what mine does, the second ult, is enemies within this giant bubble, this giant circle, are blinded and silenced. So it's basically a big enough circle to kind of encompass a mechanic. So if you're fighting around the treasure chest, if you're fighting around a mechanic for the Raven Lord, you can kind of put this giant bubble up, and basically all your opponents can do is run. So it kind of like forces a big turn on their side, and it kind of zones out a lot of people, forcing them to kind of get back so that your team can kind of overtake whatever kind of team fight you're having.
Yeah, so it's the ultimate way to support, right, Kristen? I mean, we're taking a section of the battlefield and saying, sure, guys, you can come in here, but you're not going to do a whole lot of good.
Yeah, totally. And I think we take supports to mean healing, but that's not sure. I mean, look at Tassadar Force Walls and how those alone can change the course of games. Not to imagine a huge bubble that blinds and silences an entire team if you catch them. Now, here's the question. So when they run out of the bubble, do they immediately get their senses back, or does
Yes.
it just... Okay.
It's just in the bubble that they have that effect going on. So if you're somebody like Azmodan, you can kind of blink off from outside, but that's going to block out a lot of the other characters, especially the tanks that try to get close up.
So the friendly characters that are inside the bubble are not protected in any other way. I mean, maybe you could talent into that later in the game or something, but...
Yeah.
But maybe at 20, they gain healing or something if they're inside the bubble. But that is cool.
That.
It's like an amped up Wilson shield, right? Or a Wilson ult. Yeah.
Well, it's like, how can you otherwise diffuse damage? All right, I want to protect these people, but I don't want to heal them or give them shields. Like, how can I make sure that they don't get hurt? All right, nobody around you can hurt you. Well, that's nice, especially if you're counterpicking a really dive-heavy team. So maybe your enemy team has the Illidan's, the Mirrodins, and all that, and then you can just shut them down immediately. And I'd also picture when you leave, it ends, then also when you go in, it starts. So if you're in avatar form, like running through, and you hit this wall, suddenly, boom, all your cooldowns are up, and you can't do anything. And I think that would be super cool.
Oh, yeah. or the combo wombos here with, like, just say the Butcher's ult or something where you lock people down in place, and then you drop this bubble on top of them.
Cool.
I mean, it would be...
So you can't
Kristen,
move and you can't do anything. Yeah.
Kristen shaking your head. What's going on? What's in your brain over here?
Is the pain and the frustration that would be there. It would be amazing. That is the head shake of a great idea. That would be awesome on my team, but I could just imagine being stuck in it and blowing up.
But it takes a lot. That's the thing, is that it seems overpowered, but then you're like, all right, it kind of has these limitations. It doesn't work so well on other characters, so it's fun, it's powerful, but at the same time, it's like, all right, it's not too oppressive to play against, because you can just let that mechanic go, or kind of ping from outside range as a counter pick if you have to.
Yeah, just a great idea. I mean, it's something I want to play with. Like right now, as we talk about this, I want to play with that right now. That different, well, if you're on the enemy team playing against it, you've got to make a decision on whether you're going to, change your tactics on the fly. And I love stuff like that in the game. And your whole build, Trappy, is just... it's full of what you just said right there. You know, the counterbalance of being able to have these really powerful abilities, but the counterbalance to it is, where are they most effective? Where in the game are we going to find the best use for them? Because in certain situations, you're totally just going to get stomped on if you take something like that bubble, if the enemy team has the correct hero comp. So if you had to sum up your build, Trappy, in like a short, you know, thought process or fantasy for what Velen would be in the game, what do you think that would be?
Oh, he's the clutch player for sure. He's the table turner. As when things are most dire, when you need him the most, he can push a big fight in your favor. Even if you're coming from behind, even if you're down and out, like, that's what Velen is for the clutch plays. But you know what? They're not all clutch plays. Sometimes you need to, like, go on the aggressive and be the one who's metering out the damage instead of the one who's kind of on the receiving end for it. So it forces you to kind of play smart and stick together, which if you've ever played games with me, you know that I always say, all right, everybody play smart, stick together, try not to die. And that's what Velen is all about.
Yeah, nail on the head. I mean, that was just a perfect, I mean, and the changes that you made since our BlizzCon episode, or our BlizzCon meetup rather, and now have really just fine-tuned this. And I could definitely see this being transported into the Nexus, you know, with all the math and everything added to it, and to make it, you know, balanced in the future, man. I think it's great. So that is Trappy's build.
That's another part I like about it too, is that it leaves room for balance, because any one of these skills and abilities can be tweaked in directions a little bit one way or another, and the most powerful and the least powerful form is based on, so that you're not kind of locked into some super powerful or abusive ability.
Yeah. Totally, and that's what we always say, right, Kristen? We leave the balance to Blizzard. We just come up with the crazy ideas.
Yeah, I never claimed to be a mathematician at all. I'm just an idea person.
Absolutely.
Well, that's what QA testing teams are for.
That's right. Just the QA testing teams are here for all of us, so that we can go in there. And next time you're about to complain about something being OP, think about the hundreds of people that are in there trying to test it to make it just right, and how many changes Blizzard implements into the game, and how many more they're putting in, even in the foreseeable, really, really, really near future. Lots of really cool stuff. Okay, so that is Trappy's build. So everybody out there listening to the show, keep that in the back of your mind. We're going to go through 2 more builds real quick, and then you can decide which one of the builds you think took the cake and is the winner of this episode 50 Prophet Velen episode here. And this is going to be a big title for whoever wins this, so consider your choices wisely here as we move through 2 more builds. But before we get to those 2 builds, I really want to reach out and thank all of our patron supporters over at patreon.com/HeroesForge. We could not do the show without you. You guys have been incredible supporters of the show, and if you too would like to be a member of our support crew over there, head on over to the website, patreon.com/HeroesForge. Throw us $1 or $2 each month and help the show grow. It really, really helps out. And also a thank you to everyone that's given us a 5-star review on iTunes. That also helps the show grow immensely. We're on all your favorite podcasting apps of choice out there, so if we're on your app and you enjoy the show, drop us a 5-star review and make sure you leave us a note so that we can give you a shout out on the show. All right, Kristen, your build is up next, and it's going to be very, very difficult. I mean, I'm setting the stage for you here, but it's going to be very difficult to beat some of these choices we got coming along from Trappy.
I think so. I mean, I'm stuck in the middle, so I'm like the middle child here. Not quite the oldest, not quite the youngest, trying to make it through as best I can.
Oh, you got this. I know you do. You're a professional forger. So I'm assuming you're going with the role of support.
You assume correctly. We are going with a support here. And then we're going with that off support, right? Not a heal bot. So in my mind, that means making them more active in fights themselves and dealing damage. And this was also influenced by the fact that Kyle has been playing a discipline priest in Warcraft recently, and that involves doing damage in order to better your healing. So I thought, why not have a damage dealing healer? Everyone likes the higher damage healers. So why not make Velen, even though you're right, Trappy, he's old, he's kind of done with things, kind of doesn't catch up to the fact that his world is falling apart.
Yeah, he's got to smell like old man Draenei piss too, you know.
Hey, I like the Draenei over here. I'm an Alliance player over here. They're my pals. Okay, I don't play Draenei, but they're cool. All right, let's get into your trait, Kristen. What were you thinking for your basically your damage dealing supporter over here?
Okay, so the trait's going to be something simple. It's going to be activatable. It's Ture, I think is how you pronounce it, but I am not up on Naru lingo, so we're doing the best we can here. So Ture, Velen can call upon his staff to increase the damage dealt by his allies, as well as increase the healing that they receive.
Oh, so is this a global thing you're thinking? So all these heroes are out on the battlefield, he calls down this trait and everybody gets buffed, or is there an area?
I actually didn't think of that beforehand, but let's go with global. Why not? This is a stage of the mind.
Wow, that's
awesome. That's
awesome.
a really powerful trait.
And powerful, right, Trappy?
Yeah, no, definitely. Again, it works well with the secondary healer, too, because you can have your healing and then another character healing, and their buff gets healed. Does this also work with stealth heals like Morales and Muradin?
Let's go with yes. I'm going for the victory here. This is going to be the most build you've ever
Totally
heard.
OP.
I can hear the crowd in the background. Kristen.
That can't exist in Heroes, Kristen.
No, I love this. I think it's such a cool idea. So Velen is in, it's a different kind of global, right? I mean, Velen's in the top lane doing whatever it is he's doing. And he looks down and he sees that one of his team members is about to, try to get a gank or, 2v3 or whatever's going on, Spider Queen. And so he just kind of calls down this trait. And are you imagining there's some sort of visual, like a beam of light or something comes down and buffs these guys, even though they're halfway down the map?
It would probably be something like a beam of light, or maybe they get this golden aura around them. Something priests would like. I don't play priests much, so we're going with sparkles and light here.
Great.
Kristen out of her element with sparkles and light.
So, Kristen, what were you thinking for mounting over there on Velen?
Okay, the mount is going to be a Naru. So I like to imagine he holds out his arms and a Naru appears behind him and picks him up so he's kind of on it, and then it just floats him around the battlefield.
You are the wind beneath my wings style? That's great.
Exactly.
Or
I pictured it like a surfboard almost, like Zeratul mount, the Void Seeker.
I did think about that, but I've never seen a Naru flat like that. They're always
is that rude?
Upright.
They...
I have no idea.
Standing on my face, sir.
Well, the thing that I immediately thought when we started talking about wind beneath my wings is like the Titanic moment on the bow of the ship. So basically, Velen's got his arms out to the side, and then in the background, it's like doo doo doo.
I'm flying, Jakku. I'm really flying.
That's something I didn't consider in my build is meme potential. That might be your advantage, is if you can make the best memes out of your characters.
Yeah, that'd be pretty funny. Okay, cool. Well, that mount is pretty awesome. So let's move to basic abilities here. What's your first one?
Basic is a basic. Holy Nova. Focus on him. A blast of holy power explodes outward, dealing damage to all enemies it hits while healing all allies it touches.
Ooh, so this is like an Uther W, like that shot of light that Uther has, but in an AoE area where it's easier to affect heroes because you don't necessarily have to aim it as a skill shot.
Exactly. You just got to make sure you're close enough and you know the radius well enough that you will get who you want.
Is it a circle or is it like a cone?
It's a circle.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's really good.
So kind of like a Karazim heal, right, Trappy? I mean, is that what you're thinking, Kristen, where it's going to just explode from all sides of Velen?
Yep, exactly like that.
Mm-hmm. But do damage and heal allies. I mean, that's different than Karazim. It's great. So what's the second basic that goes along with that?
The second one is called Holy Blast. And Velen launches a projectile of light that hits an enemy, dealing damage and marking them. If that enemy is killed while marked, their corpse will then explode with light, healing any friendly allies in range of the corpse.
Oh, this is cool. This I really like. This is my favorite so far. I mean, we've talked about this because I don't know what it is, Kristen, but we've talked about corpses on this show a few times, especially corpses in the game. So the ragdoll currently, I mean, when some characters get blown up, they get blown up and they fly far. So this is just an RNG thing that you're going with here. Like, if the corpse seems to be or happens to be in the area that is a good area or not, I mean, are you picturing the friendly team is huddling around these corpses to get heals?
Warming their hands over
like
the
a campfire, yeah.
Making s'mores, telling stories. What I'm imagining is that it's more of a mark to help the team focus down an enemy, because I found that that's great when you have a tank that can really isolate somebody and go, here's who we're attacking, because everybody attacks that person. Boom, they're deleted. Suddenly it's 5v4 and it's going great. So this priest would mark somebody. Everyone knows to get on that person as fast as possible, because if they kill them, as soon as that hero dies, there's a light explosion. And if you're close enough and you're in that light, you get healed. So you want to make sure you kill them, because then you get the advantage of heals.
That could be a big team swing too. Everybody goes all out trying to get the healer, and then as soon as the healer's dead, boom, everybody gets healed and you're ready to take on the next character. And it forces you to play smart, play tactically, like you said, because it's all right, this character's the one we're taking out. Now this one. And then you can like take apart the team instead of everybody just like going off and doing whatever they want. That's a really cool idea.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to it. I mean, and then so the corpse explosion, rather, is just a bonus.
It's the flavor text, right? I mean, I like to think all priests have a little dark side in them. I mean, there are shadow priests after all. We can't deny that fact. And let's not forget, in the priest's home in Legion, they have demons chained up so they can practice hitting them and trying to kill them with spells. Rogues don't even have that. We have dummies made of sticks and hay.
Well, I
don't
can
know
tell
about
you,
you, there are all kinds of demons at the Warlock home place, though. It's really nice.
Yeah,
and they're like, you should store the light core here, and I'm like, really? It's corrupt as fuck around here. Okay.
And the demon hunter class hall's got demons chained up too. So I mean, it sounds like the rogues are just doing rogue things instead of, really caring about the demons.
Although I am partial to any times corpses explode, and it's got to be lights and sparkles. Lights and sparkles kind of like holds the build together.
Yeah, very, very neat. Okay, Kristen, what's the next basic?
All right, next one is called Staff Strike. Now, when an enemy gets too close, Velen can call upon again the power of his staff to deal a massive blow to the enemy that gets too near. This stuns the target as well as deals damage to them and causes them to suffer reduced healing effects for a short period of time.
Yeah, this is something I really like to see, is the reduced healing effects I think you're really doing a good job of counter-supporting in a supportive way here, where you're reducing the amount of heals that the enemy can take, which is in a way supporting your team. I think that's a really neat idea, Kristen. I think it's really, really well done.
Cool,
kind of a jerk too, stunning them and then taking down their healing so they can't move or be helped. I
like the idea of punishing people that get out of position, and also too reducing the chance that the team's gonna go good heals, whatever healer you are, in some extremely sarcastic way, because they haven't been paying attention, that you've been working hard this entire time to keep everybody healed, but in the end, there's only so much you can do.
It's a very, very cool ability. So are you imagining that your Prophet Velen is squishy? I mean, because you're saying you have to be close for this, right?
Yes, I would imagine he is pretty squishy. So he would have to be extremely aware of his positioning and extremely aware of the enemy's positioning. But if you get that down, if you can really hone in on that and you're great with that kind of thing, he's an extremely powerful healer. So you get rewarded for playing better, right?
Yeah, of course. Heck yeah. And this is a high skill cap stuff we're talking about here. Let's talk about some heroics. What's your first heroic over there?
Okay, first one is called They Found Me. The Burning Legion is forever on Velen's path, dedicated to his annihilation and any planet he leads them to. Locking onto his position, the Burning Legion provides a buff to the enemy team. Simultaneously, though, Velen is given a global team teleport where, once they land, the enemy team loses its buff and Velen's team is invisible for a slight period of time.
Yes, that is a neat idea too. So
It's really flavorful, yeah.
So the whole team teleport, is that just like, is that a global again? So let's say Nazeebo's laning up top and, you know, everybody's in trouble down bot and all of a sudden Velen decides, we're out of here, bros. And so he just teleports everybody to, let's say, the boss. Even Nazeebo's going to get picked up in this teleport and go there?
Correct. That's how I'm seeing it, because I really wanted to capture the whole idea that Velen's been on the run for a long time. And so the Burning Legion finds him. They start to mess things up. He and his people pick up and go, and they hide somewhere for a little bit, and then the process repeats itself.
I like that Velen, the way you've built him, he requires a lot of battlefield awareness. You need to be knowing what everybody else is doing so you're not interrupting them or you're buffing them at a really clever part. Although when you said They Found Me, I thought, do you remember in StarCraft they have those little devices that summon the Zerg? Yes. I thought, like, how cool would that be if, like, they found me and then the Legion comes and, like, attacks the enemy team and, like, takes over the entirety of the Nexus? That'd be so cool.
Oh, that would be incredible. We'd need an evil Velen skin or something for that, though. Because as much as I wanted to summon the Legion for this, I couldn't do it to Velen because he's always been running away from them.
Yeah, we need some. I mean, that would have been good for Gul'dan, just to summon the Legion or something like that, where you drop a portal. Maybe we'll get a Dreadlord or something that can drop a portal.
Yeah, when Archimond comes out. Archimond.
Yeah, oh, that's a really, really neat. I love this teleport, too, because it's basically... I can see a really, really funny Carbot animation about these teleports and just being plucked out of whatever it is you're doing and being put in a place where everybody's sitting down to have tea invisibly instead of, you know, gaining XP. There's a troll factor in there troll potential.
That's one thing. What if they're at the core healing? They just Hearthstoned back because they have no life or no mana. Are you still gonna, like, pull them towards whatever centralized area you're going to?
It would have to be. If we're going global and everybody pulls, it would totally do that. So you'd really have to be
do that.
Exactly. Yeah. You'd have to care for your team. You'd have to care for your people, right? The leader.
But that'd be great if you're fighting the core and you're like, all right, everybody core right now. Boom. And then you just bring everybody to the core.
Oh dirty.
Yeah.
I love it. What's your second heroic, Kristen?
The second one is called Sight. And gifted with the power of sight, Velen can now see into the future, making sure that what he sees comes to pass. When activated, the past few seconds of a fight on his own team are rewound, giving his allies a second chance to live and fight another day.
Okay, this is neat because, you know, we touched on this when we talked about Nozdormu, you know, a million years ago when we built Nozdormu. And so it's hard to affect the timeline of the game, and that is such a huge part of Velen's story, the fact that he has these, I mean, he's a prophet. So that's huge.
His vision, yeah.
Yeah. So this is really cool. Kristen, you're going to have to give us a visual of, like, what this looks like. Does the game freeze and then everybody goes backwards and then it comes and they have a 2-second advantage to kind of disengage or re-engage or
like
what do you think it
Galaxy
looks like?
Quest. But that's cool. So it's like a tracer recall just on everybody. And so you kind of, like, it revives people, it brings people back up to their health and stuff like that, right?
Exactly. And the thing is, I didn't want to punish the enemy team directly because if say they executed a wombo perfectly, why would I then rewind it so they're rewound and they have to do that combo again? I wanted this to be just for the allies. And I thought that rewind was the best because, like you said, you revive people, you have better health now, you know what's coming, right? Because they'll be setting up for that wombo, so you know what's coming.
Well,
and
no,
you
if
better
it's rewind and they go the same, wouldn't their wombo combo be on cooldown then? because the enemy team stays what they're doing, and you go backwards in time. So they hit you with the combo, you go backwards, untake that damage. Suddenly their combo's on cooldown, and you can go and attack, right?
You're right. That's it. Yes, you're absolutely right. I'm getting confused with this time stuff, but yes, that's exactly it. They would be on cooldown, and in the places they were when the rewind was hit. But your team would be back to fighting standard.
Cool.
Yeah,
That's a good way to support without being a heal bot, though, is that you just take off the damage that happened to kind of heal that way. Nice. It's really creative.
And Trappy, I think you said it well when you said it's like a Tracer rewind, but for the team.
And again, it's global, right? So if Nazeebo is not paying attention to the team fight and he's off fighting, like...
Yeah. Say it's global, Kristen, because that's so great.
They're all global. Everything's global in this Velen build.
And my next ability is an instant death for the enemy team, and it's global. Oh, what a great
Kristen
build.
really wants to win the vote.
Maybe if I pander hard enough.
Well, I mean,
You got the memes. I don't know. That's really tough.
these abilities really are crazy cool. If balanced right, I think this could be a really, really awesome synergy in these abilities. So, Kristen, if you had to sum it all up, what would you say?
Fight for the light.
Fight
Fight for your right to party.
To Velen. You gotta fight for your right to Velen. Oh man, your guys' builds are just great. They're entertaining, they're really cool. Abilities and the synergies are awesome, so I've got my work cut out for me. So I'm obviously going with the support in my build. You know, trying to support differently than our, heal bot supports was the challenge. So that's where we're going here with this Velen, with the trait of something called the Gift of Sight. And I touched on it too, Kristen, when I was going through this on how do we do this. And so I looked up some ideas that people had for Velen on these different sites like HeroesFire and stuff, and was going through, and people have got some crazy cool ideas to implement this in there. So I wanted to come up with something that was maybe a little different, but took a little piece of some of those ideas. So I came up with this, the Gift of Sight. So Velen, unlike Archimonde and Kil'jaeden, was given the Gift of Sight. This is a difficult thing to represent in the Nexus, but with this trait, Velen is able to see all of the abilities chosen by the enemy teams and their cooldowns. Similar to the esports overlay that we see at esports tournaments, Velen would be the only one on the team that would be able to see this overlay on his screen, but would have the opportunity to communicate this information to the friendly team. The fantasy here is that Velen would be a support character in the Nexus, using a combo of his basic and heroic abilities along with this Gift of Sight to support the team in a non-traditional way. So, Kristen, that's what I was kind of trying to do with this Gift of Sight here.
I think that's a really cool take on it, because we can't deny the power of information. And half the reason the casters are good at what they do is because they can see these choices just by looking over and immediately know which way a character is going. But of course, too, that requires you yourself to have a lot of information.
Yeah,
I like that it pushes communication. You have to communicate with your team to use this effectively, but it also kind of removes the enemy team's ability to buff. So it's like, all right, that Kael'thas doesn't have a Pyroblast because that's on cooldown for the next 30 seconds. Like, that kind of power used accurately, used critically, can be really clutch and powerful moments.
Yeah, and it's something that I am practicing currently. So this is like a little bit of me inside of the inside of this build, where not trying to get the team fights together when the heroics are on cooldowns, or baiting out these heroics from the enemy team, so that you can go in more prepared than the enemy because your heroics maybe aren't on cooldown, and that knowledge right there on the front of your screen. It's trait level for me. Like, it would be a cool thing for Velen to be able to have, and maybe even you would add the control or the alt clicks to the abilities, so that if Velen, the enemy team's Kael'thas had a heroic that was on cooldown, if he clicked on it, it would show up in chat to say Kael'thas's Phoenix is
cool.
on cooldown for 15 seconds or whatever. That way you can kind of plan the way
really
that you're
cool.
going to fight around it.
That makes it a lot easier because you don't have to worry about the language barrier either. If somebody speaks another language, the game is going to be in their language anyway, so it'll tell them still the same information.
Yeah, that would be a challenge, right? Is the language barrier there? I've played a few games that have had some language barriers in there, and pulling those off is really fun. So yes, that's it. The gift of sight, being able to see everything that is chosen and on cooldowns right on the front of your screen there. For the mount, I went with the same thing that Trappy was talking about. Not necessarily the adding of a person. That's a really original idea, to just be able to drive by, pick people up. It's not mine. But I wanted this Elec, the same sort of thing, where, you've got this this elephant that's really ornamented and, regal for Velen. That's what I was going for.
And it's Velen, so it's got to be like purple and gold, right? Lakers colors.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to ride into victory with Lakers colors. That's what I'm thinking there. So let's get into some of my basics. My first one I'm calling Surge of Faith. So Velen, I took a little bit from Hearthstone here, because we can't ignore that Velen is a 7/7 legendary card in Priest decks in Hearthstone, which grants twice the healing and damage done by spells or hero powers inside of Hearthstone, which is a really powerful card. I mean, you can see this in some Priest decks, even with the most recent expansion. I've watched some videos where this can be pretty crazy powerful if played in the proper place. So
crazy combo potential.
Yeah, crazy combo potential. So I'm trying to take this Hearthstone card and kind of implement it into a basic ability for heroes. And I'm saying this is themed after this Hearthstone card. And when it's activated, it allows players that are close to Velen to receive a bonus to their passive healing and mana regeneration. This would be in the form of a buff that would allow the players in the area to get this buff called Surge of Fate that doubles, or maybe it just increases their passive healing and mana regeneration until they take damage or they are fully healed / mana regen. So if they remain in the area of Velen, I imagine that he has to channel this ability. So you hit Q and he's channeling this ability, and if you remain in the area and you're taking damage, you're still getting double. But if he stops channeling it, you have the buff until one of those things happen. Does that make sense, Kristen?
It does. It kind of sounds like a more active Brightwing heal.
That's
right?
what I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah, because Brightwing just has the pixie dust that explodes off and just does heals and pulses. But this would be more powerful, and I'm assuming that's why it would be channeled then, yeah?
Yeah, because he's not going to be able to do anything while this is happening. He can move.
So like moving around? Okay, so you can move around while you're channeling it, but you can't use any of your other abilities.
Right, so you can kind of guide an enemy. I mean, this is my only true basic healing ability here, which is not that crazy. I mean, you're just doubling your passive healing, which is already very, very low. But you're also gaining that double mana regen too. So that's where you're kind of balancing it off, and sword and scale kind of thing, where you're kind of figuring it out there.
It's good for recovering from team fights too. So if you and somebody else are running away, you can channel that, and you guys will both heal up so that you're not like one-shotted by somebody who's chasing you. I really like that. That's cool.
Yeah, and different than a normal heal bot heal here like Uther, where you can just kind of click on somebody and have it go. So my second basic is called Protection of the Naru. So when this ability allows the Velen player to draw a line on the battlefield that acts as a shield. It works in the same way as Alarak's telekinesis. Like, that's how you activate this. But instead of moving a character with the line drawn with your mouse, it allows the player to draw a line that deflects all attacks and abilities for a very, very short amount of time. So you think of it like a placeable ice wall in a way, where Stitch's hook gets thrown out and the Velen player can activate this ability and draw a line that goes and intersects that Stitch's hook. I mean, you got to be fast as hell to get this done. And then it hits that line, and as soon as that wall takes damage, it disappears. So it's just another way of creating, enemy heroes can pass through the wall. It's not a force wall by any means. It's not heroic in that way. It's just a way to kind of, you see that hungering arrow is coming out from Vala, and you put the shield up and you just eat that hungering arrow.
So you draw it across like a line. Is it like Fruit Ninja, where you try to like intersect it in such a way that it deflects it directly? or does it leave like a wall there for a while?
Yeah, and I haven't played a lot of Alarak, but the Alarak that I've played, that cool interaction that you have with being able to draw that direction that you're going to pull the enemy character or push them depending on the direction that you draw the line, it would work in my mind, which is a very scary place. It would work like that where, you know, this Stitches hook is coming in, you just kind of draw this line and it brings up a force field for just a millisecond. And Kristen, you'll know what I'm talking about here, but when we were at BlizzCon and we were watching those games, and there were some killer moments where Brightwing would hit an ice block as soon as the Stitches hook was coming in. And I mean, it was incredible the amount of time that was in between the hook getting thrown out and the thought process of the player to hit that ice block so that they didn't get hooked in.
You want to talk about practicing something to a master level. Yeah. I can't even begin to fathom how many hours were put into making sure that was practiced against the Stitches. And maybe they had run into it before, so they knew it was something they'd have to watch out to. But that was beautiful. I mean, honestly, though, over here, I've been thinking of the Aegis in Halls of Valor.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a really... Yeah, exactly.
Huh. It almost reminds me of like a parry from fighting games. It's not quite a block. It's more like an active counter. You kind of deflect the attack back instead of like setting up a shield. That's really cool. It would take really precise timing, but somebody who could draw that perfectly, dude, would be invincible because nothing could get through.
If you could just feel that, you know, you're running away or someone is running away and they're just one shot from death. You know, you just throw this up and just the esports potential, esports moments would be high. All right, my third
knowing my team, they totally whiff and like do it way past me. Like
knowing me, I'm building a character
let me protect you.
That I would whiff on as well. I mean, I'm telling you, it's crazy. My third one is called Leap of Faith, which is actually a priest ability from Warcraft, and it works similar to that. So positioning is such a huge part of any MOBA, Heroes of the Storm especially, but with this ability, Velen selects a hero on the battlefield and instantly transports or teleports them to his location. During this transportation, they are healed for a very small amount, but this ability has a large range and might just be the tool that saves that hero's life. So I think that this is global. I'm riding the global train here so that I can win the week's vote. But I think it's global, and you just select a character and you activate this, and then you select a character and it teleports them straight into Velen. And then at that point, you can hit your Q, Surge of Faith, and give them that boost to their passive healing. And then if somebody's firing on you, you know, you could throw up Protection of the Naro and try to get some walls up there that can protect you.
So it's kind of like a friendly Stitches hook, but at the same time, it's influenced by that ability the priests do have, which, is it called Leap of Faith, or is it called something else?
I looked it up. That's the only way I know this. So if there are priest players out there that are listening and maybe it's not called this, but I'm pretty sure it's called Leap of Faith, and it does just that. It takes the hero that is, you know, fighting in there, you know, Ilgoth in Emerald Nightmare, and just transports it straight to where the healer is, regardless of CC that's done, regardless of health. It just takes him off, and could be the saving thing, Trappy.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, is you could kind of use it defensively, like, I'm going to die, Varian, come here, help me. You know what I mean? Just like teleport somebody in to kind of protect you. Or if your tank just got off their death timer and you want to bring them immediately back into the battle, you also give them a tiny buff of healing over time as they're like going in and charging. So that kind of reduces the time it takes for somebody to kind of get back in the battle after they die, which I think is a really cool idea. I don't think anybody does that yet.
Yeah, and to be honest, I didn't even think of it offensively. That's the first offensive thought that we've had about this ability, and that's such a cool idea, Trappy. I love that. Like, get back in here.
That's how I would use it. Oh no, I'm gonna die. Help me.
Absolutely, that's really cool. I mean, it's so great on that level of thinking that it's just multi-use ability. So my heroics are a little crazy, guys, so you got to stick with me here. My first one is called Holy Presence. So Velen reaches up. Oh, this is funny. I forgot all about this. I did it so long ago. Velen reaches up and calls down the power of this ability. When activated, he smashes his staff down on the ground, and a beam of light travels from the heavens to his staff. This allows Velen to be invulnerable, and he's also not able to move while this light is channeling to his staff for a short amount of time. During this time, light pulses or orbs will come from the heavens randomly traveling down this beam of light to Velen's staff. It is then the goal of the Velen player to activate this ability over and over again when the orbs reach Velen. Each time this ability is activated at the correct time, Velen will let out a huge wave of AoE healing. This can be talented into later in the game to allow Velen to do an additional massive healing if all orbs were activated on time. Basically, what I'm calling this is Guitar Hero for healers. So you're throwing
That's what I was thinking. It's like a rhythm game. That's really cool. And if you can nail it just right, does it increase in like as you get each one, does it get more powerful?
I think you could talent into that, but just starting off the bat, you're going to throw this thing down, and you're going to have to hit it as it hits Velen's staff, and it's going to be randomly split up and obviously speed up so that it becomes a harder challenge to do, and then you could even take a talent at 20 that if you get a flawless victory on this thing, that it explodes with more healing and does even more. So can you just imagine, Kristen, Velen in the middle of this team fight, calling this thing down and playing Guitar Hero, basically?
That would be amazing. I would love that because I love focusing in on one thing and getting to ignore my surroundings. So if you're invulnerable, I don't know if you're invulnerable throughout this entire thing, but I like to imagine you are. You get to focus on this. And so the enemy team is going to have to decide whether to fight you there or pull back and wait until the entire thing is done.
Yeah, so crazy.
Well, and it's a skill shot without a skill shot. Like, it takes ability and practice and timing, but it's not about how quick you can aim something. It's about being able to, like, pass the successive test of puzzles. I really like that. I hope they implement that in other characters, just as, like, a way to kind of boost or power up your ultimates. Kind of have it be attacked in other ways.
Something like that, right? I love that you said I love that you just said the puzzles in the game. I think there could be use for stuff like that. Imagine how hard it would be to focus on that basic Guitar Hero moment while a team fight is going on and abilities are flying all over. And let's say like those heroes that we built, Kristen, that have those blinds, that would be a huge counter to that, where it's actually a blind for the character or for the player rather, where the screen goes black and you're like, well, and you're like trying to hit this button to try to activate your heals.
But then you hit it just right and you like save everybody on the team and you're the big hero and they have a parade in your honor. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of moments that make for awesome games, is when you can just be super awesome like that.
Yeah. That was my idea for my first heroic, and my second one is called Afterlife. This one's a little more traditional. So with the gift of foresight, Velen would be able to manipulate the battlefield, and this ability would be a powerful tool in his kit. When activated, this allows the Velen player to select a hero on the battlefield and bless them. This blessing allows them to turn into a spirit, similar to Leoric when they die, and they're able to move to any location on the battlefield during their death timer. Once the death timer expires, they respawn in the location that their spirit is located.
Gotcha. Now, would they spawn with full health, full mana?
Yeah, they would respawn, and
That's
then
awesome.
Velen's heroic would go on cooldown then. So basically, you're giving them Leoric's trait.
Totally. Now, would they have a chance to then reduce their death timer based upon things they could do to the enemy team then?
No, and when I say Leoric's trait, that's a little too far. You're giving them half of Leoric's trait. So you don't have a reduced death timer. You also don't have the slow skeleton swing or the drain life to reduce your death timer. You're just giving them the ability to reposition themselves in a place that would be more beneficial for the team and down the res walk.
Could you cast it on someone who's already dead?
Yes, because I want it to be heroic. It doesn't feel super heroic,
Right.
especially since, Leoric uses this on a trait, right? But when you're giving someone a second trait, is pretty heroic. But even to make it sound a little more heroic, if there was someone on a death timer, you could select them from the scrolling wheel across and make it so that they spawn at the Hall of Storms as a ghost and are able to go to a location on the battlefield.
And could you imagine the combo with the Diablo, for instance? He's got his full stacks. He goes down and he's got, 10 seconds before he's up again. So you give that to him, and suddenly your tank is back again. Just like that.
That's where it would be the most clutch, is keeping your tanks close when they're handy.
Yeah.
Are there any other characters that can interact with their death timer like that besides Leoric and Diablo?
I think Gul'dan, you can take a trait with Gul'dan that extends his death timer. I think, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure what happens is you deal more damage to the enemy in response to an extended death timer when you die. There's something like that with Gul'dan. He has that. So they're not afraid to play with death timers, obviously. Murky, Diablo, those characters. So I think playing with death timers is a cool way to support.
And it's another great way to look at the whole idea of time, right? Because there are so many different ways you could play with what sight is in the Nexus. And that's both scary and amazing all at once.
Yeah,
and supports without supporting. You allow a player to kind of reposition and sort of get an advance on it without healing them necessarily.
Yeah, and I love that combo wombo, Kristen, with the Diablo, and you get him right back into that team fight, like, bam, you're right back in that team fight. And, Leoric doesn't do a whole lot of damage. I mean, he's out there bruising and tanking away, so him being able to spawn in these locations is useful and helpful. But imagine if Li Ming went down, and then in that same team fight, Li Ming came back right then and there. I mean, it'd be a different way to res, so to speak. So that's my build, guys. So basically just taking some different ideas here, kind of combining them together to support in a different way. I mean, just using, if I had to sum it up, I'd say using this trait of being able to see everything that's going on the battlefield and kind of use communication through minimal healing, Velen will lead you to victory. I mean, 3 incredible builds, but before we can say they're forged, we have to get to the good stuff. We have to get to the fun stuff here and talk about some crazy skins and dances. So, Trappy, what is your specialty skin for Prophet Velen?
So for my specialty skin, I wanted to go with, that famous Prophet Velen quote, not all who wander are lost. That's not a Prophet Velen quote. That actually comes from a poem in The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Rings. Gandalf is describing Aragorn to Frodo in this poem. It seems like a really ineffective way to describe somebody, but he uses that quote, not all who wander are lost. So I wanted to kind of capitalize that and make a Gandalf version of Velen. So the first one would obviously be Gandalf the Grey. He's got like the hat, the storm cloak, just Gandalf Stormcrow straight off. And then for the second one, I wanted to go with a blue kind of tint to it, like the Ishtari or the wizards that went to the east, the blue wizards to the east that went to the east. And then the last one has got to be the white, Gandalf the White, after his reincarnation, after he defeated the Balrog on sorry, I'm not gonna. After he defeated the Balrog and he came back as Gandalf the White, and so that would obviously be the final incarnation of his specialty skin.
So you're not gonna give us a "You shall not pass"?
You shall not pass.
Great, I love it. That's perfect Prophet Velen. Kristen, what were you I mean, that's such a great idea, Trappy. The Gandalf fits perfectly with this kind of, wizardly, all-knowing knowledge, it's great.
Healer without being a healer, a support without being a healer, right?
Yeah, that's what the wizards are in Lord of the Rings lore. Is they're not supposed to be super powerful and take over the world themselves. They're supposed to empower the other races to kind of take fate into their own hands. And Velen has very much a parallel storyline to the wizards in Lord of the Rings trilogies.
Super cool. Kristen, what were you thinking?
I'm going with the Egyptian god Ra, the sun god, because Velen's long associated with the light, right? and I love Egyptian skins, right?
Me too.
Right?
No,
Tassadar and
definitely.
his Anubis skin.
Yeah,
so
that's
I'd like
better
Ra, and it would come with that falcon head, and the falcon head, of course, would have on top of it. You could go with the sun orb to keep it Egyptian, or maybe it's a more roundish Naru that kind of looks like a sun, but it still keeps to the lore of the Naru.
Yeah, I hope they bring more mythology into the Nexus. I think that's a really cool way to take the characters.
Yeah, it's a neat way to add a spin that's familiar. And I am like you, Kristen. I'm all about the Egyptian, Egyptian gods and lore and stuff. I think that's really cool idea. Mine is not as as intriguing as you guys. I'm going with the Pope, Velen. So he would be in a full-on Pope outfit with the hat and all. Because, his head's kind of got like a Pope hat shape. So
It's true. It's true. I mean, he's got the beard to cosplay as Gandalf. He's got the head to cosplay as the Pope. I mean, those two are perfect.
But the mount would be the Pope mobile. So
that would be I would buy that legendary skin immediately just to ride around in the Pope Mobile. That sounds so fun. Especially if your character would like wave and like look left and right while they're riding their mount, kind of like they're in the Pope Mobile being driven by other people. That'd be so fun.
Absolutely. That is the Pope Velen, or the Prophet Pope Velen. And then we'll move into dance moves here, and I'll start with this one. So I just figured that Prophet Velen might be really, really a big fan of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, so he would do the Carlton dance. That would be his kind of, his dance move here would be the Carlton dance.
Pope Velen doesn't get active for many things, but when he's asked to dance, you better believe Velen can dance.
When asked what his favorite TV show was, this is in the WoW Wiki. It's actually Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Get out of here.
Really?
No, it's no.
Well, that's like one of those things they throw in there. I wouldn't put that past Blizzard.
He's like, and it does now. He's like editing the wiki as we speak. Yeah,
I'm over here
there.
typing it in. Yes, check it out. Wow.
All right, for me, I kind of put together a routine. So you got to start out with like the running man. He's like running in place, and then he does like a spin move and drops down into the. I found out it's actually called the Hopok, but it's the Cossack dance, the little Russian kick dance. And then he like jumps up and kind of clicks his heels before coming back down, just like this whole little routine that he busts out.
Man, Velen is limber. I would not have guessed that.
Yeah,
see, I think the juxtaposition of him being really old but also an amazing dancer like fits really well together in the character. It's one of those unexpected surprises that you're like, oh, have you seen Velen dance? Dude, he's got moves. Like, got it going out.
And it goes off of what Kristen was saying, like, yeah, he's limber. He's been reading Battle to Be Better. I'm telling you, he's practicing. He's just sitting and biding his time. And then as soon as you hit /dance, he's going to be going crazy. What's your dance move, Kristen?
Well, I kept him slow and steady, but I always enjoyed the gag in the South Park episode where Stan has to school the dance kids, right? They try and up him one, and so his dad teaches him that line dance. So he can beat those dance kids. So you just look them straight in the eye and give them this. And then, don't break my heart.
For our...
that would be amazing.
The music has to play though when he starts dancing. Don't break my home, break your home.
Yeah, that is hilarious. And for our audio only listeners, Kristen was giving us a little bit of the dance, so you've got to check out the VOD to really get the full effect of all of these Velen dances. I think we gave a little bit of an intro to all of them. Guys, these builds are incredible. If you want to vote on which build you think was the winner, and the winner is up to you, is anything that you think makes it the winner, whether it's the funniest, whether it's the build that you think's the most practical, whether it's the most OP build, whether it's the build that think Blizzard will really take into account and try to put into the Nexus. It's up to you. Your vote is your vote, and you can do it on our Twitter page, which is twitter.com/forge Forge Heroes. Over there, it'll be the top pinned post on our Twitter feed right after the show is done recording. Cast your vote, and we will have a winner. The winner gets to choose the hero for next week, and then go forward from there. This is just incredible. I mean, let's make sure that everybody knows where we can be found in the interwebs. Trappy, where can people find you in the interwebs if they want to follow all the great stuff you do?
I am the one and only Trappy Jenkins, your old pal. You follow me on Twitter, and I promise every day I will post at least one cute animal gif. That is my guarantee as a Twitter provider to you.
That's a big promise. I mean, I'm really into animal gifs, Kristen.
Dude, go back and check my page, man. I've been doing it for a couple months now. It's been pretty consistent, so it's a fairly good collection on there.
That's awesome. Kristen, where can people find you in the interwebs?
People can find me at Dream Destroyer. That is DRMDESTRYR over at Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, as well as my health and fitness blog, battletobebetter.weebly.com, where this week we talk about anxiety about going to the gym.
Damn. Deep cuts.
Deep cuts. That's really a problem for some people. Anxiety and also determination to get there are two problems, yeah. I'm sure.
That's the hardest part, is getting there. Once you get there, you feel so much better.
Exactly. It's just taking those steps. The jump, as it were, right? It's all
the
scary
leap
up
of faith,
the jump.
If we were to go with the builds.
There we go. There we go. Just believe in Velen and he'll get you there.
The leap of faith. Only in a leap from the lion's head will you get a six-pack. And not of beer. I mean a six-pack of abs. If you're looking for me, you can find me right here on HeroesForge. We record the show every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/Amove TV. You can follow us on Twitter at Forge Heroes. Make sure that you check out Amove TV for all your video game and podcasting podcasts. I mean, there's a ton of really great stuff on amove.tv. Check it out. Angry Chicken, Into the Nexus, Gamers In, Overwatchers. They have a new Warcraft show. There's a lot of stuff over there, and we are super grateful and happy to be a part of that community. So check out amove.tv. If you want to send us an idea for a hero that you want to see on the show, make sure you send it to us in one of a million ways. You can email us, contactheroesforge@gmail.com. You can visit our website, which is heroesforge.club, and there's a contact tab there to send us your idea. And also you can just tweet at us. Again, that's at Forge Heroes with your idea. We have a featured Forgered episode every single month where we take a build that's sent in from the community, and we have a ton backlogged, but we want even more. So if you have an idea, maybe it's just a character you want to see on the show, maybe it's an entire kit, or maybe just one ability that you want us to talk about, send it our way. We want to keep this community driven. We are on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and your favorite podcasting apps. And also, if you'd like to support the show again, you can head on over to patreon.com/HeroesForge to pledge us $1 or $2 and help to keep the show going strong. Trappy, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was so awesome to be able to feature a featured Forger live, and we hope to do it again next year and just keep on building from there, dude. And your build was incredible, and it really inspired us to push the envelope with this non-support support.
Thank you very much, guys. I am humbled and honored to be on the show today. I was just like watching this, always in the comments asking annoying questions, and now I'm here. Started at the bottom, now I'm slightly less above the bottom, and I'm on this side. It feels good, man. I hope one day I can come back and do this again.
Yeah, absolutely. You can count on it. We will get you back on the show. Kristen, some great builds. I think we could put Prophet Velen in the game. I mean, it's definitely doable.
I like these challenges that we get, both Trappy and all the other listeners, because we've been challenged to put names in there. What about dances? So I really, really, really like that. So if you have a challenge, doesn't matter who it's for or what week it's for, let us know. They're so much fun because they really help change the dynamics of how you think of heroes.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
if it's something like support with a twist. It isn't specific. It doesn't like force you in anything, but it makes you like think creatively and kind of puts you in a place of like, how can I approach this problem differently?
Yeah, absolutely. Send your challenges our way. That's the most fun when we're building these kits, is when we have a framework of a challenge behind it. And Kristen's right. We've had some killer challenges in the past. All right, everyone, just a reminder, the next episode will record on the 23rd of December at 7 o'clock p.m. right here, twitch.tv/Amove TV. Then we're coming at you on the 26th, the day after Christmas. And then the 2nd, which is the day after New Year's Day. It's the 2nd of January. Whatever day that is, I'm sure we will all not remember on that day. So it will be great. This schedule will be posted on our Twitter, so if you forget when to catch the show, you can check it out there. Thanks to everyone for their flexibility during this holiday season. And don't miss the 23rd, because we will be doing some crazy, crazy holiday stuff. Rock on, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. We're going to call it there, and we will catch you all in the real world.